Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever this video finds you, welcome to Embrace Villainy and Raw Dogs Radio. Because today, we're going to do a special show. Who texts me? Hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. I know, always when I'm broadcasting. Yes, okay. All right, there's my music. All right. What's going on, Lewis? So, yeah, it's been a minute. Y'all like the intro? Lewis made that. I meant to debut it on Christmas, but I was celebratory mood. So let's shoot the shiznit with some different talk. All right, we're gonna try to stay away from the political stuff today and just have a little fun here. And of course, as you know, I'm a Browns fan, and the big news came down. Actually, a lot of news came down this week concerning the team, but the biggest one is this: Browns and Deshaun Watson agreed to contract restructure, paving way for quarterback to return for the 2025 season. And I'm like, sure. It says the new deal lessens Watson's cap charge in future years. Now, I had been saying, well, as I said on my sports channel, I said, look, the way it's set up, Deshaun Watson, his contract is going to kill him. It's going to kill the Browns. I'm going to say us, whatever. It's going to kill us. Last year, he broke his shoulder, his throwing shoulder. He had it restructured. All right. So he had surgery on his throwing shoulder. And it looked like he was scared to throw the football in the first 6 games of the season. Do understand that for a player, when you're coming off surgery like that, it takes a while before you're able to trust your body out there on the field. And that was Watson's biggest problem through the first 6 games. He didn't trust his arm. He trusted his eyes, but he didn't trust his arm. He didn't feel comfortable. So he was out there looking terrible, despite having a newly reconstructed shoulder. And then, of course, in week 6, he wound up popping his Achilles on his right Achilles. I believe it's his right Achilles. He popped it. For a running quarterback, because Deshaun Watson is a running quarterback. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's a running quarterback. So and he's a one-read quarterback. This is terrible. So not only do you have an arm you can't trust, and now you've got a leg that you can't push off of. And you see in the box, they're showing Giants Falcons. Do understand the reason why the Falcons have benched Kirk Cousins is because he popped his Achilles on his right leg. That's his plant leg. That's your power leg. So if you got Watson, who's got a newly reconstructed throwing shoulder and now a popped right leg Achilles tear, dude, your career is done. So the only way the Browns could be able to salvage anything going on with him, which is nothing, you had to extend because he's got a guaranteed contract with a lot of the money backloaded because all the years that he didn't play and he was hurt. All right. First you had the suspension, then you had 2 injuries. Now this injury, they kept pushing the money back because they were not going to pay him $50-something million to sit on the bench. That was out. That was crazy. Although looking back at it now, I really wish they would have. But the only way to rectify that was to stretch out his contract. And that way you can push the money back or even it out. And that's what it looked like they did. So let's read it. Quarterback Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns have reached a contract agreement that will lessen Watson's cap charge in future years while keeping his fully guaranteed $92 million intact, sources tell CBS Sports. So that, I guess that's what they owe him, 92 million. 92 million. Okay. Because if they would have cut him, they'd have had to eat a lot of that come 2025 and then the rest in 2026. But let's see what happens here, because this is my first time reading this. The adjustment, which is technically, the adjustment, which is technically an extension. Hold on, y'all. God damn. I know. I think this getting business text. All right. The adjustment, which is technically an extension by adding a new year to the existing contract, but with no new money, is intended to help the Browns field a competitive roster for 2025 and beyond. Watson has $46 million due to him over the next 2 years to complete the $230 million contract signed in 2022. As some of the Browns' top players like Myles Garrett and Joe Patonio have publicly questioned the immediate future of the team, this deal signals Cleveland has no intention on pressing the reset button. But actually you do. Come on. I'll go over that. The deal also provides the Browns with an easier, less financially painful path out of Watson's contract following the 2025 season, should the team wish to part ways with the quarterback, whose status for the beginning of next season is unclear as he recovers from Achilles surgery. Now, personally, they should have added, I say you should have extended it by 3 years. You should have put 3 years on there, and then that way you just let him know, we're going to cut you. We're going to cut you, but you're going to get all your money. So that way you're not killing the team, because you're kidding yourself if you think he's going to come back from injury and still be able to play at a professional level. Let's see. The Browns' acquisition of Watson has been considered by some in the league to be among the worst in league history. That's because of Watson's play. In March 22, the Browns traded 3 first-round picks to the Texans to acquire Watson, who then signed a $230 million fully guaranteed deal over 5 years. At the time, Watson had more than 20. Anyway, it was the richest contract in NFL history in terms of fully guaranteed money until this fall, when Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott signed a deal that included $231 in fully guaranteed money. So he got $1 million more. Like, that's so silly. Anyway, the NFL suspended Watson for 11 games to begin the 22 season and fined him $5 million. He looked rusty in his 6 games that year, throwing 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Well, you know what bothered me about this 2022 season was that when he came back, instead of them having a ball control offense that they was running all year, with oh my God, I can't believe I forgot his name. Good Lord, I can't believe I forgot that guy's name. He plays for the Patriots now. He came from the Patriots. Now he's back with the Patriots after a stint in Washington. At any rate, they were running a ball control offense with him. They were running the football with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and he was just dinking and dunking it down the field. He was hitting David Njoku on quick little 7-yard little button hooks and everything. Occasionally they take a shot downfield, but the defense was just playing like garbage. But meanwhile, he was just boom, boom, boom. It was a power running control offense. All of a sudden, when Watson came back, they went to the spread offense. Like, you're running the spread offense, the passing game in a snowstorm. That is very stupid. That was so stupid. So yeah, he wasn't coached right. And I know that that Watson was running around telling everybody, yeah, I'm best in the spread. No, you're not. You're trash in the spread. You are a one read quarterback. You are a one read quarterback. You are a power running game, play action pass, one read quarterback. He went 5-1 as a starter in 23, dealing with multiple injuries before eventually being shut down for the remainder of the season for surgery on his throwing shoulder. The Browns would start 5 different quarterbacks that season and went to the playoffs for just the second time in 2 decades. Yeah, but mainly because of Joe Flacco, who crapped the bed in the playoff game. Watson performed like one of the worst starting quarterbacks this season before tearing his Achilles in Week 7's loss to Cincinnati. His 79 passer rating ranks 32nd among qualified quarterbacks, ahead of only Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson. And Anthony Richardson is just flat out garbage. Bryce Young seems to have clicked. It seems like the game is slowed down for him because he showed marketed improvement ever since he came back from being benched. And then, like morons, they traded his best wide receiver back to the Steelers, and he's done nothing. That was a bad idea. And Anthony Richardson, he is a black Tim Tebow. He is a black Tim Tebow. That dude sucks. Let's see, both of whom are second-year quarterbacks who got benched during the season. The Browns have gone 3-12 this season with Watson, Jameis Winston, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson as their starting quarterbacks. Now, Jameis was doing okay. You know, he wasn't a winner, but he was entertaining. You know, Winston was giving you 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. You know, he was giving you bad interceptions at that. But at least you were able to move the ball. And because of Winston, Jerry Jeudy was able to have a 1,000-yard season. If y'all saw that Sunday night game against Denver, yeah, that's how the Browns were looking with Jameis Winston at quarterback. But then, you know, I mean, I have to be honest about Jameis Winston. He is not the sharpest tool in the shed. And if you notice, he's one of those guys that likes to, you know, use religion and God to mask his mental deficiencies. He's one of those guys. I just put it in the hands of the Lord. Yeah, well, can you put it in the hands of your brain? You know, come on. At any rate. But, you know, he's an exciting quarterback. DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, is not a starter in the league, not in the NFL. He is not an NFL starting quarterback. Maybe, you know, those experimental leagues that they used to have overseas, like he might be able to start there. Maybe a team will go like, if they play 8 games, they'll probably go like 4-4 or 3-5 or something like that. But he is not a starter. That kid is, oh my God, he is horrible. But he's going to start he started last week. He's going to start this Sunday and then next week unless he gets hurt. Though Watson's contract is fully guaranteed, the Browns have used some salary cap mechanisms to ease the burden on the cap and the player. The 11-game suspension in 22 cost Watson 11 game checks, but his contract was structured so that those game checks came from his salary of $1.35 million, while he was paid a nearly $45 million signing bonus. And see, this is what I'm talking about. They should have just, I mean, it was smart at the time, but when you look at it now, in all honesty, you should have just went ahead and just not did that. You shouldn't have pushed his money back. You should have just let him go ahead and keep getting his paychecks. CBS Sports previously reported Watson, head coach Kevin Stefanski, and general manager Andrew Berry would all return for 2025, though the Browns could have extricated themselves from Watson's contract this offseason. It would have come at a historic hit of $119 million in dead money that would have crippled the team's roster in 2025. That led to an open question about Cleveland's plans for the future. And, oh my God, we're going to talk about Berry and Stefanski. Let's get this out the way. Last week, reigning Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett laid down the public gauntlet on the team last week, stating he sought to win in 2025 and not be part of a potential rebuild. Myles Garrett. Excuse me.
I mean, we just want. I mean, we just want volunteers. I mean, we just want volunteers, not hostages. At this point, because
So, it's Myles Garrett. Well, volunteers, not hostages. As he said, I mean, it's a possibility to play elsewhere, but I want to be a Cleveland Brown, Garrett said. I want to play here, play my career here, but if we choose to do a rebuild and it's 2, 3, 4 years out, I want to be able to compete and play at a high level, play meaningful games, and be playing past January. Left guard Joe Bitonio, an 11-year veteran and most tenured member of the Browns, said this week he also wants to know Cleveland's plans for 2025 before choosing whether to return for the final year of his contract or retire. The goal now, you're in year 11, year 12, you want to try and win games, Bitonio said, according to Cleveland.com. It's hard to go out there and have 3 wins right now. It's been tough. It's tough on your body. You just don't feel as good on Monday when you lose a game. So it's part of the process, and you'd love to hear what the plan is going forward and kind of see where we're at, see how much winning you can do. Now, here's the thing with Joe Bitonio. The past 2 years, he's played like shit. It's like, dude, you should have retired 2 years ago because his play has been that bad. So when it comes to the roster, this year's draft, you definitely need to get a left guard, a starting left guard. But we'll get into that too. Watson's contract adjustment clears up some questions about Cleveland's immediate future, but it doesn't answer who will start for the Browns at quarterback next season. Watson underwent surgery on his ruptured Achilles on October 25th. Sources have said it's unlikely Watson will be able to pass the physical until the summer. Winston is set to be a free agent, and Thompson Robinson has struggled in his spot starts these 2 seasons. Yeah, that dude has yet to throw a touchdown. The free agent quarterback market is expected to be weaker than usual, especially if Pittsburgh retains Russell Wilson and Sam Darnold stays in Minnesota. The Browns are likely to have a top 10 pick in April's draft, and they are currently slotted 5th with 2 games left to play. Only Miami's Cam Ward and Colorado's Shedeur Sanders are considered week 1 starting quarterback options in this year's draft class, and the belief around the league is that they'll be taken within the first 3 to 5 picks. And personally, I wouldn't want Shedeur Sanders because he comes with a lot of baggage with his dad. Oh, what's up, son, man? You say Greg Gumbel died? Oh, yeah, well, you know that. Wow, yeah, rest in peace, Greg Gumbel. I did not know that. So here's what they're looking at. All right. But first, let's really talk about what they need. They need, just on offense, you need a starting left tackle. You need a starting left guard. You're going to need a starting right guard. You need a quarterback. You need a running back, and you need a wide receiver. All right. You're going to need another wide receiver, if not 2 wide receivers. But that's 6 players right there. That's just on offense. You're not going to get those 6 players with these little measly picks. First, second, third, 2/3, a fourth, a fifth, and 3 sixes. This is why I'm saying you trade Myles Garrett. Go ahead and trade Myles Garrett to anybody, any team. Probably maybe like the Lions or the Vikings or maybe even the Packers. Somebody that feels that Myles Garrett will be the ultimate piece to help them win, get to the Super Bowl. Maybe even Buffalo, if they can afford it. For their first, second, and third round pick this year, and then their second and third next year. Because Myles Garrett is really worth, I would say, about 3 first round picks in 2 seconds. That's Myles freaking Garrett. All right. So if you can get a team that will mortgage right now, they're mortgage right now, they're 2025, like, hey, we can fill some holes in free agency and we can trade these picks to the Browns for Myles Garrett, and our pass rush will be complete. We won't have to worry. You know what I'm saying? We will not have to worry. So with 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 3 thirds, all right, that's 2, 4, that's 7 picks. You can get your starters where you desperately need them. You say Shedeur is not worth the pick. No, I don't think he is either. Say cancer took Gubble. Just found out about an hour ago. That is crazy. I guess we can talk about that. And then you're going to get compensatory picks. You're going to get, because right now, okay, you're going to have to rebuild your defense too. Because if you trade Myles Garrett, you're going to need a right end, a left end. You're going to need another middle linebacker. Really, you need 3 linebackers, but get one right now. Get you a middle linebacker right now. All right. And more than likely, if you can go ahead and trade Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson, then you can get 2 corners. You can get you need at least 5 more picks. Now, you can probably get about 2 or 3 picks. I would say maybe 2. You don't have to get a first round pick for Denzel because he is on his 6th concussion. He's on his 6th concussion. So what are you going to do with a guy that's got 6 concussions? You're going to trade him for what? Maybe a second and a fourth? You can get him for a second and a fourth. You can probably trade Martin Emerson for maybe a 3rd round pick. Okay. And then from there, you can rebuild your defense. So you're going to get compensatory picks because you can't re-sign Elijah Moore. JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, he suffered a neck injury earlier, like in the middle of the season, and hasn't been back. And as of today, he's seen like 6 specialists concerning his neck. That's this guy right here. So in all honesty, I would just go ahead and count him out for next year. So you're going to need another middle linebacker or a weak side linebacker that can also rush the passer in your nickel coverage, because he's gone. Let's see. Amari Cooper is already gone. You already traded him. Jedrick Wills, you're going to let him walk. This guy's been a horrible left tackle. He can go. James Hudson can go. He's been terrible. Quentin Jefferson, he can go. Maurice Hurst can go. Dustin Hopkins, you re-signed him to a 3-year deal and you gave him a guaranteed contract, and the guy has kicked like shit. He's missed practically half of his kicks. Rodney McLeod is going to retire. Deontay Foreman, he's not going to be re-signed. Neither will Tony Fields or Devin Bush, Michael Dunn, Jordan Atkins, Tyler Huntley, Jameis Winston, James Prochet, all of these guys, Tony Brown, and unfortunately, Nick Chubb. Unfortunately, as Browns fans, you have to say goodbye to Nick Chubb. Because just like Deshaun Watson trying to come back from shoulder surgery and now the Achilles injury, Nick Chubb is coming back from knee injury and he is a shell of himself. And maybe next year he might come back to maybe like 75% of who he used to be at 29 years old. But yeah, him breaking his foot, yeah, that was it. Nick Chubb is done. The rest of these guys are scrubs. Nobody cares about them. Nobody cares about them. You have to rebuild this team from scratch. You just have to. You got to start over. You got to start over. When you look at the teams, though, as far as the draft order as it stands, the Giants, let's see, the Giants need a quarterback. Let's see, New England has theirs, Jacksonville has theirs, Tennessee needs a quarterback, and then there's us, definitely need a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback. Panthers are cool on that. The Jets need a quarterback. As Chicago was cool on that, and New Orleans, I please, they definitely need a quarterback, but they're not going to jump the order. And the Raiders, they screwed up. They won. They beat Jacksonville, which pushed Jacksonville higher into the order. So these fools are like 4-12, and they fell all the way down to 8th. So they ruined their chance at getting a quarterback. They're going to have to trade up. They might have to trade up with New England, and they're probably going to have to give New England an F ton of picks. If not Jacksonville, but more likely New England. If the draft ended, if the season ended today, Vegas would have to give up. They would probably have to give up. Who is their pass rusher? They would have to give him up and some picks just to move up to number 2. Unless you can make some type of deal, unless Cleveland makes a deal with New England or Jacksonville, all right, in order to switch spots or to get their picks. It's just wow. It's so many possibilities. So many possibilities. Where to go with it, I have no idea. I really just can't call it. I just can't call it. I'm looking at this right here. Sorry. But this is not the new order. Let's see what the new order does look like. Hold on. Let's see. They call it the Tankathon. All right, hold on. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. All right, so yeah, this is the Tankathon. So let's see here. Who they got in the mock draft? So they got New England taking Travis Hunter, which I wouldn't do that. I would not do that. You need more than a cornerback wide receiver. You need a lot of players. What? They got the Browns taking a wide receiver. Number 1. What do they think? They're on drugs? If anything, they don't have any quarterbacks going in the first round. There we go. Jalen Monroe. All right, so they do have the Browns taking Jalen Monroe in the second round. But if I can find a way to get another first round pick, I would take Jalen Monroe in the first round and get a left tackle. You get your left tackle and your quarterback there, and then in the second round, that's when you look for your running back. You know, that's when you look for your running back. And if you can also get that other second round pick, that is, if you can get value for Myles Garrett, that's when you start, after you get your quarterback, your left tackle. And in the second round, you get your starting running back. Then you start building your offensive line. You spend your next 2 picks on your offensive line. And then in the third round, that's when you get your wide receiver and start looking. See, they got him, Josiah Stewart, in the third round getting an edge. Yeah, that's when you start getting rebuild your defense in the third round. But we'll see. We'll see. I can't really call it. It's such a weird take. But as far as when it comes to the Browns coaching staff, in all honesty, I think it's time to say goodbye to the GM, Andrew Berry. It's time to fire Andrew Berry because his picks and the contracts that he's doled out, they have not worked. Like, you overpaid for Deshaun Watson when, in all honesty, and I mean, this is like a consensus idea, was that what you should have done, you should have sat Baker Mayfield when he injured his shoulder in that week 2 game against the Texans back when he was a Brown. You should have put him on injured reserve. Be like, no, you're not going out there and starting. You got a broken shoulder, bro. Go sit down. You're done. You should have sat him down. You already tagged him with a 5th-year option. You should be like, look, sit it down. We'll run it back next year. And then we'll talk contract. You don't have to play for a contract this year. Play for it next year. You know, if anything, concentrate on healing. Get your head in the playbook. We'll go ahead. We'll scour the waiver wire. We'll get another quarterback in here for, 1-year deal. And we'll just finish the season without you. You'll be okay. You should have done that. That way, you wouldn't have got into the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. And it's just amazing how Andrew Berry let the franchise get ripped off and taking Deshaun Watson. That was bullshit. That was the worst decision I've ever seen a GM make. I mean, when you look back at it, hindsight being 2020, but a lot of people were saying that, yeah, like, this was a bad deal. And I guess they weren't lying. It was a horrible deal. It was a horrible deal because then you could have just put more pieces around Baker Mayfield. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's serviceable. Can you win playoff games, possibly a Super Bowl with Baker? With the defense that we had last year, we would have won the Super Bowl. We would have won the Super Bowl, or at least been in it. But it is what it is. So Andrew Berry is out. I would fire him. I would bring in the Jets former GM Harry Douglas, because if you look at the talent that's on the Jets roster, they have the talent to make the playoffs. They just didn't have the coaching, not the head coach, because they should have kept their head coach. They should have fired the offensive coordinator. Really, they should have never hired him in the first place. They should have brought in a real offensive coordinator for a modern NFL. Jets will probably be in the playoffs right now. To be in the playoffs right now, but that's not what happened. You sitting up here, they actually, can you believe the Jets? The Jets are being run by a 17-year-old who goes by Madden ratings on whether players are good or not. That's why Robert Saleh got fired. He got fired because the 17-year-old said to fire him. What type of idiot listens to a... These are billion-dollar franchises, and you're letting your 17-year-old son call the shots. I mean, the absurdity of that. If I'm a Jets player, starter, backup, I want out. I want out. Like, I want to be traded. I'm not re-signing no contracts. If you franchise tag me, I'm not coming in. I'm not signing it unless you've got a trade deal on the table. I'll be damned if I have to listen to or be ruled over by a 17-year-old. Like, I'm out. I would not want to get drafted there at all. Like, I'll sit out to the next draft. I am not playing here. Will the Raiders fire their head coach? It depends on how cash strapped they are. Because the Raiders, they've been cash strapped for a while. That's one of the reasons why they moved to Las Vegas, to try to get an influx of cash. I would probably give Antonio Pierce one more year with a good quarterback. People are saying that Sam Darnold is not going to leave Minnesota. I doubt that. I'll put it to you like this. If, let's say, let's say Tennessee, or because Vegas, let's say Vegas can't get a shot at Shedeur Sanders, because in all honesty, that's who really wants him. I mean, the Giants will probably, I don't think the Giants will even draft Shedeur Sanders. They have a problem with, do I dare say it? The last black quarterback that started from them had to kick Drea Michelle out of his house. Oh my God. But yeah, the Giants are not good. They don't really deal with black quarterbacks. So, and everybody is pushing for him to go to Las Vegas. So somehow Vegas and the Giants would have to make some sort of deal. I doubt very highly it would go like that. It would probably go in the sense of maybe the Giants will skip Shedeur. Let's see. Let's say they skip Shedeur. Let's say they take Cameron Ward. Well, then that would leave Shedeur open for the Titans. But more than likely, the Raiders, they would have to make some type of deal with the Patriots. They would have to make a deal with the Patriots. That's the only way it will work out. Because the Giants definitely need the quarterback. The Patriots do not. They got a lot of holes to fill. They need wide receivers. They need corners. They need no, their running back is pretty good. But they need let's see, wide receivers, 2 corners, and offensive linemen. So drafting Travis Hunter, that wouldn't do them no good. That really wouldn't do them no good unless they just had him at wide receiver corner. But you need offensive linemen desperately. And the more picks you have, the more bites at the apple. It's hard to call it. It's hard to call it. It's hard to call it. Let's see what the big board looks like. So let's see what's up at quarterback. All right, so you've got Shedeur, Cameron, Jalen, Quinn Ewers, and Carson Beck. All right, these supposed to be your top 5. So I could see maybe the Giants taking a shot at maybe at Ewers, maybe Beck, Shedeur. It's gonna be kind of weird. It's gonna be kind of weird. And then of course you've got, but these guys are not coming out till next year. But this is gonna be a jumbled mess. Now, Ginty, he's a damn good back. But he's coming out of Boise State. You know, you need a guy that's a plotter. If anything, you need somebody coming out of like a Penn State or Ohio State, because these guys play against better talent than like a Boise State. But if you take a shot at him, he's not going to be putting up these numbers in the NFL. I can tell you that much. 2,400, almost 2,500 yards rushing, 29 touchdowns. You're not doing that in the NFL. Not at 5'9", 215. Not unless your last name is Sanders. Oh, my goodness. Wide receivers. Doesn't look like too much of a deep draft for wide receivers. Let's see here. Offensive tackles. Yeah, looks like a deep draft for offensive tackles. Let's see here. Interior linemen. That's going to be kind of tight. It's going to be real tight. Let's see. Edge rushers. You got a deep draft for edge rushers. Okay. All right. So you can wait till later rounds to get your edge rushers. Linebackers. Ooh, linebackers look pretty tight. Cornerbacks. Yeah, that looks pretty tight too. Safeties look pretty tight. It's too early to call it. But excuse me. We're gonna have to do something. Biggest thing is you got to get rid of Deshaun Watson. You have to get rid of Deshaun Watson. You have to trade Myles Garrett. You have to trade Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson. And you got to rebuild. You got to rebuild from scratch. You got to rebuild from scratch. You got to be rebuild from scratch. All right. I mean, really, that's all I really wanted to talk about tonight as far as sports. Oh, and by the way, concerning Travis Hunter, look, that boy done made up his mind, okay? He made up his mind. Let that boy live his life. Let him go ahead and find out the hard way. He one of them, don't believe fat meat is greasy. Don't believe the stove is hot. Okay? Can't see the forest for the trees type of dude. Let him find out the hard way. Is he going to be a crash out? More than likely. But that's of his own volition. All right. Let's get out of here. I'll hit y'all later. Peace. I'm not Captain Saberhole. No, real so. I'm not Captain Saberhole. Yeah, no. Look, I'm not like this in the slightest. I'm attracted to intelligent chicks to think righteous.